them, you have not been subpoenaed, you're not under investigation. He couldn't do that. Twice he was asked, including afterwards in the press conference, and he can't. So you got a governor who is under investigation, so I don't know why anyone would want to put their arms around that.
Amazing to me that no one started a stop red light camera party, because I feel like that candidate would win.
But I have a Stop Common Core
yes,
party.
That is true. Do you have them in Westchester, by the way? Red
Limited,
light camera, school
in the
zone,
city of
like
Yonkers wanted it. It's something I can't stand because it does nothing, I don't think, including AAA thinks so and other motorist groups, to make anyone safer. It is pure and simple a money grab. And it may very well cause accidents as people freak out going through, looking at the camera, and is it yellow, is it red?
So what would you say to those county executives like yourself
I'd
if
say
you become
no more.
governor and mayors who depend on that income coming
I would
in?
say no more. Start looking at other ways that you can cut like I've cut. You know, there's a property tax cap which expires. We didn't need a property tax cap. I've gone 5 budgets now with no tax increase. We actually cut property taxes. And we have a budget that's smaller. Is it tough? Yeah, you got to make some tough decisions. But we did it, and we'll continue to do that in the state.
Just dawned on me that in Westchester County, your constituents include Andrew Cuomo,
The Clintons.
and Bill and Hillary Clinton.
That's right. And they should all be thanking me for cutting their taxes.
I assume they don't have Astorino for governor signs on their lawns?
You'd be surprised.
All right, we're going to take a short break, and we come back. We'll continue our campaign close-up with gubernatorial candidate Rob Astorino right here on News 12 Long Island. Welcome back to the Silent Vote 2014 campaign close-up. In the studio with me, Rob Astorino. He's the Republican candidate running for New York State governor. And we did invite Governor Andrew Cuomo to join us for a News 12 Long Island debate with Mr. Astorino, but the governor's office did not return our calls and emails. But again, we appreciate your time with us.
Thank you, Doug.
Common Core, that has touched everybody across the island here in Long Island. You got a lot of very angry people.
Yeah, well,
What's
I'm
your
one of
solution?
them, and concerned, too, because my wife and I have 3 kids. We have an 11-year-old son and daughter's age 9 and 5, so K through 6th grade. And I've seen Common Core in all its glory right around the kitchen table. And it's a disaster. And Cuomo's Common Core, the rollout and the implementation has been a nightmare. You've got federal government basically guiding decisions in our classrooms right now. It's going to be a massive tax increases down the road. That's what this proposition is about, to borrow all these billions of dollars to comply with Common Core. I'm saying we should get out of Common Core. I'm running on the Republican, Conservative, and Stop Common Core ballot lines. You can vote for me on any of those 3, and it counts. And we've had a lot of good Long Islanders helping us on this campaign who are just as concerned. You know, we need to have teachers that are actually teaching, not teaching to a test. In my kids' schools, they spent 3 weeks for the ELA, 3 weeks for the math, period. That's all they did, basically. Right. And teachers shouldn't be teaching automatrons. That's what they're becoming, testing automatrons. Right. The creativity's got to go back in the classroom. What we would do, and I ask people to go to robastorino.com for our education plan, which would completely put more accountability on the governor and the Board of Regents for our education. We spend more on education, as Long Islanders know and we know in Westchester with our taxes so high. We spend more on education in New York than any state in America, and we're in the middle of the pack in results. So that's unacceptable. I want higher standards and a rigorous curriculum, but I want it New York-based, and I want the input from our parents and our teachers and our school board members on a local decision-making.
Okay. I believe we have a comment or a question from a Long Islander, and in the interest of fairness, let's hear from Governor Cuomo as well on the issue.
I have nothing to do with Common Core. Common Core is established by the Board of Regents, which is established by the legislature. I don't appoint anyone to the Board of Regents. I had absolutely nothing to do with it. The only thing I did do with Common Core was I stopped the grading of Common Core. It was chaotic. It's caused anxiety. It's caused stress. There's too much testing, too little learning. I stopped it with a 5-year moratorium.
My name is Danielle Flora, and I'm from Islip. Mr. Astorino, hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers, parents and educators have been looking for a legislative response to the myriad of concerns we have for our educational system here in New York State. If elected as governor of New York, how would you address these concerns, specifically Common Core, over-testing, and the defunding of public schools?
All right, so essentially you get together a panel of experts and kind of refine what Common Core.
That's a great question. First of all, the governor to sit there and try to backtrack right before an election to cover his tracks is totally irresponsible. It is Cuomo's Common Core. He wrote letters to the Board of Regents demanding a PPR. demanding a fast-track implementation. He stands by it. One of the reasons he got the Business Council endorsement is purely because of Common Core and his support for it. I have been dead set against Common Core from day one because I see it for what it is. And I think, as she said, too, we would go back to what was called the lost standards. The Board of Regents were working on elevating the standards in New York in 2008, 9, and 10, de-emphasizing some of the testing, putting more decision-making locally in our school districts, and proper funding. That was pulled immediately, halfway through their project, when Common Core came around and the federal government said, you need some money, you want some money, and New York rushed into it, gobbled up the money, and now everyone's looking for the receipt because they got into something they didn't know what they were getting into, and now they want to get out of it, except for New York. This governor stands by it. We need to get out of Common Core. Look, I'm a taxpayer. My wife and I live on a quarter-acre piece of property in a typical blue-collar neighborhood in Westchester. We're at almost $16,000 in taxes on our 1,900-square-foot home. It is crazy. And it is exactly the same here on Long Island. People are just, they can't breathe anymore when it comes to taxes. So we have to do some meaningful things. I mean, meaningful things, not nibbling around the edges like this governor and think it's over with, in order for our middle class to stay, our working poor to get better jobs and be able to live here. And that's why I'm running, because we got to stop this tax madness, and I get it. And Common Core is very important to get rid of, because I think we're going on the wrong path with education. But I hope people go to my education plan because it's pretty bold.
All right, let's talk about...
Also, the governor took away $7.5 billion in education aid from our local school districts. They were then forced to raise taxes or to cut programs and teachers to make up the difference when he didn't give them the tools to overcome that, which is what we need to do.
All right, women's equality. And just so viewers understand as well, there's the 10 issues, and 9 of which are on equality and 1 on the very hot debated issue of abortion. Let us actually hear from the governor and a Long Islander as well here.
And let's pass a women's equality agenda to treat women fairly, for my family and for yours. As far as a woman's right to choose, all my law says is codify Roe v. Wade, which was a court case 40 years ago that gave a woman a right to choose. It doesn't increase it at all. He is against it. He has said that I'm a Catholic, and the Catholic Church is against abortion, and I won't let it happen. It's ghastly. I understand that. I'm a Roman Catholic, too. But you uphold the law. You don't uphold your religion. And I respect a woman's right to choose, and I will defend it.
My name is Nancy Gambia. I live in Comac, New York. County Executive Astorino, what do you agree and disagree with about the Women's Equality Act?
Said it very distinctly. I should let her host. Okay.
Well, Nancy, I agree with 9 points, and we've all said pass the 9 points. And the Democrats and Republicans in the Assembly and Senate, National Organization of Women, the bill sponsors, pass the 9. Governor Cuomo is using the 10th point for purely political reasons. It is a very divisive issue. It's a very personal issue for a lot of people. This is a pro-choice state. I get that. I happen to be pro-life, but this was Roe v. Wade was 40-something years ago. We passed abortion legal in New York 3 years before that. Abortion's not going anywhere. It's the boogeyman issue, so he doesn't have to talk about why he's under federal investigation for corruption or why taxes keep going up. But what I will not do is what Governor Cuomo wants to do, and that language, makes no bones about it, would allow abortion unrestricted access up through 9 months. And the language in that bill specifically takes out that it must be performed by a medical doctor. So that's why it's so controversial. It's very out of step with even most pro-choicers who totally disagree with that. But it's his issue to try to rile some people up and try to not talk about how miserable this state is under Andrew Cuomo.
And you would try to urge state legislators, look, split it up, let's vote on the 9.
Do the 9, absolutely. Okay. Put it to the floor and do the 9. Okay. And that takes away the divisiveness, and you can focus solely on that one issue if you want to, which doesn't have enough votes to pass even from pro-choicers.
An issue the governor's taken some heat on, and one that you like to talk about, I know, is the Moreland Commission.
Oh, yeah.
The disbanding of the commission has gotten a lot of attention. In fact, let's hear from the governor what he had to say in the debate recently.
Cuomo is at the center of Albany corruption under federal investigation for obstruction of justice, witness tampering.
There was no abrupt stopping. I wanted the commission to get a law passed. That's why I impaneled it. I said to the legislature, when you pass the law, the commission will go away. They passed the law. The law has an independent enforcement agent, redefined bribery, was applauded by all the DAs, And that's what we needed, was a new law so the DAs could actually prosecute. And that's what we produced.
All right. You agree with that?
Ask Preet Bharara, the U.S. Attorney, if he agrees with that. That's why Andrew Cuomo is under federal investigation right now. Preet Bharara the other day said that Albany is a corruption disaster. How many more legislators do we need to be indicted before we figure this out? And we've got a governor now who was in 2010 saying that New York is a disgrace in its corruption. He was going to be the white knight to clean it up. The problem is now he's swimming in that cesspool of corruption so deep that he's being investigated himself. And only in New York could the Anti-Corruption Commission have already been corrupted. It's got to come to an end. And you know why? Ethics matter. You have an unlevel playing field. It's why the economy is bad. It's why people are leaving. It's why taxes keep going up. We're basically paying a stealth corruption tax now for the deals that they cut for themselves. Who do you think pays that? We all have to pay that. Hardworking taxpayers pay that. So my plan starts with term limits. 8 years. 8 is enough. Remember that old show? 8 is enough. 8 years for governor and statewide, 8 years for legislators. That's enough time. Also, if you are convicted of corruption as a public official, you lose your pension. There's a whole plan. I hope people go to Rob Astorino and read it. There's also our tax plan, our job plan, our education plan, our interurban renewal plan, which is so important. So I think there are a lot of different reasons why Andrew Cuomo has had his chance over 4 years. If anything, he's made a baby step. We don't need a baby step when you're dead last in the country and people are moving out in record numbers. You need some monster steps, and that's where we need to go.
Speaking of a monster step, many say it's a monster step for you to win.
Nope.
Your numbers have been down in the polls. Your recognition was down. We're a week or so away.
Yep.
I mean, how are you going to pull this off?
Because typical average New Yorkers are going to say, you know what, we've had 4 years with Cuomo. Nothing's gotten really any better. The state's going in the wrong direction. He's not doing his job. The tax bills keep coming in and in higher and higher. Electric rates higher and higher. You go through it, good jobs are leaving. We need to make some big changes. It's what I did. It's why Democrats voted for me in Westchester, a very deep blue county, and we won twice by 13 points because we cut taxes more than any county. We're living within our means, and we're putting people first, and that's really what we have to do. These ads that you see on TV every day by Andrew Cuomo, almost $40 million in negative false advertising. The soup commercial, which is so misleading. Even the New York Times said it was wrong. You've got, I want to put guns in every school with every kid. I mean, it's nonsense. But now you're looking at a very panicked politician who feels it's slipping away. And so we can do so much better. And I'm ready to lead this state, just like I'm leading a very big county. And we have a healthy balance now in Westchester between what we can afford and what we need. And that's what the mindset we need to bring back to state government.
Here's your opportunity to say something good about Andrew Cuomo over the past 4 years. I mean, many would say the state was in horrific shape and is much better. You're saying it could be better. What's he done good?
I'll tell you one thing, the Tappan Zee Bridge. It's something that I've advocated for, the replacement of the Tappan Zee Bridge. He gets credit for getting it over the finish line and actually moving it ahead. The problem, though, is he has no idea what it's going to cost, and we have no idea what the tolls are going to be. They're looking at tolls right now, $5, probably going to be $15. He has put all those decisions off until after the election. He won't tell anybody what it is. And so the lack of transparency is not good whatsoever. I think we can do better here on the island with Sandy relief. We certainly need to bring taxes down in a meaningful way. Otherwise, we're going to lose everybody.
Okay, we've got 10 seconds. Any ties to Long Island? I know you said born and raised in Westchester.
I've been coming out to Long Island my whole life. I've got family in East Williston and Seaford and North Belmore and Huntington and Babylon. Right. You go on and on. It's a great place.
All right. We appreciate the time with Rob Astorino, the Westchester County Executive, Republican gubernatorial candidate. And again, in interest of fairness, we invited Governor Cuomo as well. Thanks for watching here on News 1209.